Would you fake scientific data, research data, if your boss were to ask you to do that? Well, this actually happened to one of my former laboratory colleagues. This was already quite many years ago, around 30 years ago. I was still at university and doing a laboratory course, and then there was this young woman there as well. She was a few years older than I was, and we were started to small talk a little bit in the lab because we wanted to get to know each other, of course, because you'll be working together. And then she told me, yeah, I'm now back at university again. I'm now studying again biology. I worked before in a research organization, in a research company, and we were doing contract research for other companies. And then we did not, or I was not able to produce the data that the other company expected. And therefore my boss asked me to fake the data. And I refused to do that, and I quit the job, and that's why I'm back at university. Just a little background information here. There are those research companies that basically do independent research. So if you want to get a product tested, for example, because you want to have some kind of a quality sticker on it, or it's product safety testing, then you can contact these companies, research companies, and then they will do the research for you, and then you kind of you pay them, and then you kind of hope, of course, that the results are good, and then you can slap your quality sticker on your product, and then you can sell it. And in this case, of course, the quality of the product wasn't there, and of course this basically means that the company would have been pretty unhappy about that result. And I mean, I paid you, and now the results are not there, so what's going on here, right? And I'm going to now look for different research organization that now will produce the results. You see, there's a financial pressure here. And and then of course it can happen that the boss then asks, please change the data around, fake the data. And this is of course a declaration of what I call a declaration of moral bankruptcy. I mean, this is of course fraud. And the consequences, of course, can be, I don't know. I mean, if there are health concerns, for example, for the consumers, I mean, you can't do that, right? And as a researcher, as a scientist, you just don't fake data. I mean, of course, mistakes can happen. That's one thing, but at least you are not deliberately, modifying data in a way that you're kind of misrepresenting the quality of a product. So this is indeed something where I basically said, well, kudos to her that she actually has taken then the decision to actually resign from her position, and then she decided to go back to university. But fraud in research is, of course, unfortunately something that happens over and over again. I mean, sloppy research is one thing, right? But of course, also research fraud can happen. It's especially, a case when there is a financial incentive to do that, and some kind of pressure maybe to produce results. Not only financial, but publish or perish. It's also this commonly used phrase. Either you produce data and you make a publication and you publish something, or you have basically the problem that maybe your contract is not going to be extended, or you simply don't have any references that you produce. And that can also impact on your own reputation. So for this reason, maybe some researchers are maybe a little bit too quick in producing results. So you see, you have the full spectrum here. And that's, of course, something where moral integrity is very important, these things don't happen. A little bit more on the, I won't say more humorous side, but on the lighter side, it's not only something happens not only in the natural sciences, but also I met a former student of mine. He visited me again back in school. I'm a teacher, right? And so one of my alumni visited, and he said he's studying history. And then I asked, of course, how are you doing and how does this work? And he says, well, I found a really cool method of writing essays. We have to write so many essays, and actually it's so time consuming, but now I found a really good way of doing that. No, not AI, not ChatGPT, and no plagiarism, but essentially normally you're supposed to collect the data, and then you're supposed to synthesize some kind of a thesis, some kind of out of the data, out of the research. But I'm going the other way around. What I'm doing is I just propose a thesis first, why a certain historic event happened, and then I'm just going to cherry pick the data, and I'm going to cherry pick the resources and references to make my point. That's of course not the way it should be. But he said, that's actually a very efficient way, and I can produce a lot of essays this way. Of course, it's not supposed to be like this either. Isn't fraud? No, I wouldn't say so, but it's also not, I would say, probably the objective standard that you would expect in an academic environment. Well, I just wanted to share this with you, and after I've heard this, that yeah, she quit her job, I was asking myself, well, what would I've done in this situation? I probably would have done, not probably, I most certainly would have also done the same thing, because what's the next step? Okay, first you fake the data, and then the next time, because of financial pressure, you completely invent the data, yeah, and fabricate it. I mean, is this what you're supposed to do? And I know that also, for example, some of my students are, unfortunately, when they have been producing laboratory work for school, I mean, some of the data that I see, I mean, this doesn't make sense at all, right? And then I just know that there was probably some fabrication involved, and that the student did not do the research properly. So unfortunately, this is something that is not that rare, and I think to have some kind of a moral compass also in relation to science and research is something that I think yeah, every scientist should have. Just wanted to share this story with you. I wish you all the best. Bye bye.